Hi, this is Scott Wallace with SmokinTex. I'm National Consumer Products Manager. We've done a few videos for you now, and today I'd like to do a couple for you. I'm going to start off with a video on cold smoking. I'm going to explain a little bit about our cold smoke plate accessory and how it works in the smoker, and the way you can get fantastic smoked cheese or smoked tomatoes or smoked mushrooms, anything really where you want to put a smoke flavor on the food but you don't want to actually cook the food or change the internal temperature. This is the cold smoke plate here. This is the accessory, the way it comes, and this is what it looks like out of the box. And you can see that it's essentially designed to go in the bottom shelf position of the smoker, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. But it's double-walled stainless steel. It's got an insulated layer of 850 degrees. It does an excellent job of blocking the heat transfer to your food. Now, here on this full boat, I've got 4 types of cheeses. I've got some baby mozzarella, a little Gruyere, some Havarti, and some butter queso, and I'm going to smoke these in the smoker. Now today for our video I'm going to put them all in the smoker with the same type of wood, but normally for myself at home I'll change these woods up a little bit. I personally like a hickory on the Gruyere. I like a nice pecan on the Havarti. I like something like a hickory or a maple on the butter queso, and a pecan or an oak on the mozzarella. Hickory is going to be probably the most common flavor that you'll taste on most smoked cheeses, with oak probably being second. So either hickory, oak, or pecan would be a good wood for all 4 of these cheeses at one time, the way I'm going to do them today. Now, I've been a little bit careful about the way I purchased the cheese when I bought it today. You'll notice that none of these pieces are big hunks. I like to keep to about a little less than a ½ inch in thickness on any one plane. That way I get a good smoke infusion to the cheese. So if you give me just a few moments, I'm going to walk out to the smoker, get it ready, and I'll explain to you what I've done out there, and we'll take a look at getting started on smoking some cheese. Well, it's a beautiful day here today in Texas. Not like when you watched our brisket video and I was out here sweating, so hopefully you'll be spared that today. We've got the smoker all ready to go. This is our Model 1400. This is the way I like to set up for cold smoking. I've lowered my racks to the lower, or my side rails to the lowermost position so that I'm as far down as I can be. I've got my cold smoke plate in place. I've taken and filled up a drip pan, the drip pan that comes with the unit with the ice. I'm just going to set it right there on top of the unit, on top of the cold smoke plate as a further reduction in thermal heat transfer. One thing that's critical when you're using the cold smoke plate, you're putting a barrier. This is your thermocoupler. This is what senses and regulates the temperature in the oven. You're putting a barrier between the heating element and what's going to regulate the operation of the heating element. So it's real critical when you're using the cold smoke plate that you don't leave the unit turned on too long. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So I've got my cold smoke plate in place as low as it'll go. I've got my drip pan filled with ice. And I've got my cheese here, and you can see I have my cheese on a full boat, and I've stood it up so that the smoke can circulate around the cheese. Now, you can do the cheese directly on the rack if you like, but if you have a boo-boo and the cheese gets too hot, you're going to have a real mess all the way through your smoker. So the full boat's just kind of a precaution. Now, I'm getting ready to put my wood in my smoke box. This is about a ½ cup here. I'm just going to put these chips in here. That's not a lot of wood. You don't need a lot of wood. You're going to get a nice smoke flavor from it. And you're not going to have the unit turned on that long anyway, so all that extra wood would be wasted. Smoke box is in place. I've used oak today because oak is an accepted kind of neutral smoke flavor, and it'll work well with all these cheeses. Now, if I were at home and I were being picky, I'd be doing 4 different loads, each with the wood that I like for that particular cheese. But don't be afraid to experiment a little, play a little, try different cheeses, try different woods, get different combinations. You can get some great flavor. And if you've priced smoked cheese in the grocery store lately, smoking your own is definitely a great way to go. Essentially, I'm going to take this unit, I'm going to close the door, I'm going to set the unit to around 120, right there, just under 125. I just want the unit hot enough to generate smoke. I'm going to let it run for about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to come out and I'm going to turn the unit off. You can even go and take a step further and unplug it. Like I said, you've put a thermal barrier between the thermocoupler, the regulator of the oven, and the heating element. You don't want to leave this turned on because this is never going to get a stop signal. It's just going to keep going and going and generating heat. You're looking for a wisp of smoke to start coming out of the top of the unit. Once you see that, turn the unit off, let the cheese sit for about 40 minutes, a good 60-minute cycle, and I promise you that's going to be a pretty heavy smoke flavor on the cheese. Now, if you want it smokier, just keep repeating that 20-40 cycle. 60-minute cycle, 20 minutes on, 40 minutes off. If you find in doing your smoked cheese that you want something a little more than 40 minutes but you don't need that whole other cycle, what you can do is turn the unit off after 20 minutes and then put a jar or something over the top and cap it, and you can let it sit for maybe an hour, hour and a half, and just the smoke that's contained in the unit. And eventually that smoke's going to dissipate. You're going to see it all drop off. And in that case, you would then repeat the cycle, turn it on for 20 minutes with the jar off, let the smoke start to come out. Once it stops, put the jar back on. If you give me just a few minutes, we're going to smoke this cheese and I'll meet you back in the kitchen. Alright, our cheese has been sitting in the smoker. We ran the smoker, like we said, outside for about 20 minutes. I like to set a kitchen timer so I don't get distracted and miss that 20-minute mark. I went out there after 20 minutes, turned the unit off, let the cheese sit for about another 40 minutes, so about 60 minutes total. Now the cheese will be a little soft when it first comes out of the smoker. Don't worry about that. You can smell it. It's got a great smell. It's going to have an excellent flavor. I like to get it into the fridge as quickly as I can. And what I've done is I've got some saran wrap here, and I just wrap the pieces up in saran wrap and put them in the fridge. Now, if you do this and you let the cheese sit for maybe a day, maybe 2 days, the smoke flavor will deepen. It'll get richer and it'll get a little bit heavier. So, you know, if you can't wait, you want to eat it right away, it's going to taste phenomenal. But if you give it a couple days, that smoke flavor will really intensify. So that's the best way to use the cold smoke plate. Now, don't be afraid to think outside the box. This is a great way to do stuff. A lot of stuff, if you notice in the supermarket, I can buy paprika for one price. I want to buy smoked paprika. It's significantly more expensive. Use this. Make your own smoked paprika. Smoked sea salt. I like to use this to put a smoke infusion on my steaks. Basically, I take a couple of ribeyes, I put this in the smoker just like we talked about outside. I put my ice tray in, put my steaks in, let that smoke get going, let them sit for about 20 minutes, take them back out. I can put them in the refrigerator and cook them several hours later or the next day if I want to, or I can go straight from the smoker to the grill and cook them just the way I like them. Puts a great smoke flavor on food. So this is a great way to put smoke flavor on food and then finish it or cook it or use it in another way. If you'll stick with me, I'm going to have another video here pretty soon. We're going to do just salmon. We're going to do lox. We're going to do a little warm smoke. We're going to do a lot of stuff with salmon. I think you'll really enjoy it.